In 1961, one of the wealthiest young men on the planet, an heir to a massive American fortune, vanished in the swamps of a remote and uncharted land. He was 23-year-old Michael Rockefeller, son of New York's powerful governor, Nelson Rockefeller. The world was told he drowned, his body lost to the unforgiving tides of the Arafura Sea. For over half a century, that was the official story, a tragic accident, a footnote in the gilded history of a dynasty. But what if the official story isn't the whole story? What if the truth is far more shocking and was deliberately hidden to stop an international scandal? To figure out what really happened to the lost Rockefeller heir, we have to journey deep into a world of headhunters, colonial secrets, and ritual revenge. Section 1. The Golden Sun and the Call of the Wild. Michael Clark Rockefeller was born in 1938 with the world at his feet. He was the great-grandson of John D. Rockefeller, founder of an empire built on oil and power. But Michael wasn't cut out for a corner office or a life in politics. He was different, an artist, an adventurer, a romantic, driven by a fascination with cultures far beyond the pristine avenues of Manhattan. After graduating from Harvard, he found his calling not in the family business, but in collecting and studying what was then called primitive art. His passion led him to one of the most remote places on Earth, Dutch New Guinea, a vast, isolated island north of Australia, now part of Indonesia. In the mid-20th century, this was a land lost in time. A world of dense jungles, sprawling mangrove swamps, and rivers that were the only highways. It was home to hundreds of tribes, many with little contact with the outside world. And among the most enigmatic were the Asmat. The Asmat people, with a population at the time estimated in the tens of thousands, lived in villages built on stilts along the muddy riverbanks. They were master artists, renowned for their intricate and powerful wood carvings, towering bish poles, ceremonial shields, and hauntingly beautiful masks. These weren't just decorations. They were a physical link to a complex spiritual world governed by ancestors, spirits, and nature. But there was another side to Asmat culture, one that both fascinated and terrified outsiders. They were a warrior people who practiced ritual headhunting and cannibalism. This wasn't random violence. For the Asmat, it was a crucial part of their cosmic order. To avenge the death of a clan member, a head had to be taken from an enemy group. This act, they believed, restored spiritual balance to the universe. Taking an enemy's power and name was a sacred, cyclical obligation. Into this volatile world stepped Michael Rockefeller. He was helping film a documentary for Harvard's Peabody Museum. But his true obsession was collecting Asmat art. He planned to establish a gallery at his father's Museum of Primitive Art, a collection that would later become a cornerstone of New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. He was determined to acquire the most authentic pieces, trading steel axes and tobacco for priceless cultural artifacts. He was a young, ambitious man on a quest to make his own name, drawn to the Asmat and their art with a force that would ultimately seal his fate. Section 2. The Final Voyage. On November 17, 1961, Michael was near the end of his second expedition, traveling with a Dutch anthropologist named René Wassing. They were in a heavily laden catamaran-style canoe, navigating the treacherous waters where the island and river empties into the Arafura Sea. Suddenly, the weather turned. Waves crashed over their boat, and the engine died. For hours, Michael, Wassing, and their two local guides drifted helplessly. The next day, the boat capsized. The two guides, both expert swimmers, immediately set off for the distant shore to find help. Michael and René were left clinging to the overturned hull, alone. They drifted for nearly a day. The shoreline was a blurry green line, an estimated 10 to 12 miles away. With the sun beating down and no rescue in sight, Michael made a fateful decision. A strong swimmer, he believed he could make it. He stripped down to his underwear, tied two empty gas cans together for a makeshift float, and turned to Wassing. His last recorded words were, "I think I can make it." He then pushed off and began swimming toward the coast. René Wassing watched him disappear into the vastness of the sea. Wassing was rescued the next day. Michael Rockefeller was never seen again. Section 3. The world searches. When a Rockefeller goes missing, the world notices. The disappearance triggered one of the largest search operations the region had ever seen. Nelson Rockefeller flew to New Guinea to personally oversee the effort, bringing a swarm of international media with him. The Dutch government sent ships, planes, and helicopters to scour the coast, while thousands of local villagers patrolled the jungles. They searched for 2 weeks and found nothing. No clothing, no gas cans, not a single trace of Michael Rockefeller. On December 1st, the Dutch Interior Minister announced, "There is no longer any hope of finding Michael Rockefeller alive." The official conclusion was simple. He had drowned. Claimed by exhaustion, powerful currents, or perhaps the sharks and crocodiles that patrol those waters. In 1964, a New York court declared him legally dead. For the world, and for his heartbroken family, the case was closed. His twin sister Mary has always maintained her belief that her brother tragically drowned. For decades, the story was a cautionary tale of a young adventurer lost to the savage indifference of nature. Section 4. Whispers from the jungle. But what if the story doesn't end there? What if the sea never claimed him at all? Almost immediately after the official search ended, rumors began to spread among missionaries, colonial officials, and the Asmat themselves. The whispers told a different story. Michael had made it to shore, and his true fate was far more terrible than drowning. To understand this, we have to go back to 1958, 3 years before Michael disappeared. A Dutch colonial patrol, led by Max Lepre, had a violent clash with the people of Otjanep, one of the most powerful Asmat villages in the region. The Dutch opened fire, and several of Otjanep's most important leaders were killed. In the Western world, this was a tragedy. In the Asmat world, it was an unforgivable tear in the cosmic fabric. According to their beliefs, the spirits of the dead can't rest until their deaths are avenged. The village of Otjanep now carried a spiritual debt that could only be paid one way, with the head of an enemy from the tribe that had wronged them. In this case, the tribe was the Tuan, the white men. For 3 years, the men of Otjanep waited, needing a white man to kill to restore balance. They weren't indiscriminately murderous. They were following a sacred law. And then, in November 1961, a lone, exhausted white man, clinging to 2 gas cans, reportedly washed ashore right where they were. Section 5. The forbidden story for 50 years. This remained a dark rumor. Then, in 2014, journalist Carl Hoffman published the book Savage Harvest. Hoffman had spent years investigating, trekking through the same jungles and gaining access to secret Dutch government archives. What he found was explosive. The documents showed that just weeks after Michael's disappearance, 2 Dutch Catholic missionaries who spoke the Asmat language, Father Cornelius van Kessel and Father Hubertus van Pijge, began hearing detailed, consistent accounts from villagers about what had happened. The story they pieced together was chilling. Men from Otjanep found Michael in the shallows, weak and struggling. At first, they were hesitant, but then a leader allegedly declared, "People of Otjanep, you're always talking about headhunting Tuans. Well, here's your chance." They saw him not as an individual, but as a member of the white tribe that had killed their leaders. He was the revenge they had been waiting for. The accounts were horrifically specific. They described how the men speared and killed Michael. They then carried out the full ritual. His head was taken, his brain was consumed, and his flesh was cooked and distributed. The missionaries' reports even named the men who allegedly led the attack. His thigh bones, they said, were carved into ritual daggers. This wasn't about hunger. It was about ritual and brutal, sacred revenge. Father Van Kessel later wrote in a report, "It is certain that Michael Rockefeller was murdered and eaten by Otjanep." Section 6. The Great Cover-Up. The most shocking part of Hoffman's discovery wasn't just the story, but what the Dutch government did with it. The missionaries had reported everything to the colonial authorities. A police officer sent to investigate the next year came to the same conclusion, and was even shown a skull the Asmat claimed was Michael's. The Dutch authorities knew. Less than a month after Michael vanished, they had credible reports that he had been killed. So why lie? The reason was pure politics. The Netherlands was on the verge of losing its new Guinea colony to Indonesia. Admitting that the son of a prominent American governor had been ritually eaten by their colonial subjects would have been a catastrophic international embarrassment. It would expose their lack of control and paint the Asmat as savages, a stereotype they were trying to shed. It was far easier to let the world believe Michael Rockefeller had simply drowned. It protected Dutch interests and spared the Rockefeller family from a truth too horrific to comprehend. Section 7. Lingering questions and controversies. But as compelling as this all sounds, there's a catch. There is a complete lack of physical evidence. No remains, no clothing, and none of Michael's personal items have ever been definitively recovered. Without forensic proof, the cannibalism theory remains circumstantial. Other theories have also persisted. The most romantic is that Michael survived and went native, choosing to live with a jungle tribe. This was fueled in the late 1960s, when footage emerged of a light-skinned, bearded man canoeing with Asmat warriors. But most researchers, including Hoffman, have debunked this, suggesting the man was likely someone with albinism. And the official story of drowning is not impossible. He was swimming a great distance in treacherous, crocodile-infested waters. It's entirely possible he succumbed to exhaustion or an animal attack long before reaching land. As his twin sister has said, the absence of a body leaves the family in a terrible place of not knowing for sure. Section 8. The Legacy of a Ghost. Michael Rockefeller's disappearance sits at a tragic intersection of exploration, colonialism, and anthropology. His quest, while driven by a real passion for art, can also be seen as part of a long tradition of Westerners, extracting cultural treasures from indigenous communities for a few dollars worth of goods. As Carl Hoffman puts it, it's ironic in a way. The things that drew Michael to the Asmat are the things that killed him. Today, many artifacts Michael collected are housed in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, in a wing bearing his name. After a major renovation, the Michael C. Rockefeller Wing reopened in May 2025, presenting the stunning arts of Africa, Oceania, and the Americas to a new generation. The galleries are a testament to his dream, but they are also a silent memorial, a beautiful but complicated legacy, haunted by the ghost of their collector and the mystery of his final days. The evidence is compelling, but the final truth remains buried in the swamps of New Guinea. So, what do you believe really happened to Michael Rockefeller? Was he the victim of a tragic drowning, or did he swim ashore only to become the final piece in a ritual of revenge? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you found this investigation fascinating, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest unsolved mysteries. The story of Michael Rockefeller is more than a missing person case. It's a story where two worlds collided, one of immense wealth and power, the other of ancient spirits and sacred laws. Whether he was lost to the sea or to man, his fate is a haunting reminder of the secrets history tries to keep, and the enduring power of a mystery that refuses to be solved. The final, definitive truth may never be known, forever lost to the jungle and the tides.